Hi everyone, I'm Matt Ellis. I'm Principal of Collardale and Kirklees Recovery College, and joining me today is Daniel, one of our ex-learners, ex-volunteers, and he wants to tell his story, which is a fantastic story. So I'm going to start really by asking Daniel to introduce himself to everybody and have a conversation, really.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name's Daniel, as Matt has said. Former learner and volunteer at the Recovery College. I'm not used to saying former. It's still a part of me as far as I'm concerned. It's nice to be able to have the opportunity to do this and share my experience of the Recovery College and what impact it's had on my life, because it's literally changed the direction of my life and how I view myself and feel about myself. It's been a long journey, but I'm very grateful for it. And I'd just like to share my experiences. There'll be a lot of you out there who perhaps kind of feel lost and don't know where you're going, or you have no direction, and you're looking for some guidance and some support. Well, I can tell you firsthand that the Recovery College is certainly the place to go. I mean, I'd love for it to be part of my life for the rest of my life. But we do move on eventually, and the time has come for me to do that. I still want to play a part in the Recovery College in some way and still have contact. So...
That's a big thumbs up for Recovery College, which is great. So, Danny, I was going to ask you a few questions to get started really on that journey that you've described. How did you get to the Recovery College in the first place? How did you hear about us? How did it feel when you first came in through the door? What was going on for you at that time?
It was actually, and I'd never heard about the Recovery College before, so this is back in late 2018. I was just about finishing work at the time, and it was a former colleague actually who mentioned the Recovery College to me because I was in a very difficult place. Struggling with my mental health. It was a very, very hard time, and my mental health, I didn't quite understand. I knew something was going on, depression, anxiety, and I'd been diagnosed by then anyway with these conditions, but I didn't know how to manage them or anything. And somebody recognized the impact that it was having on me. And so they suggested, it was a very kind suggestion. They just said, "Have you heard of the Recovery College?" And I said, no. And I said, what is that? And they gave me a brief overview as to what the Recovery College was and what its purpose is and what it can do to perhaps help me. I went away and thought about it, prayed about it to God to make sure it was the right thing. I contacted the Recovery College and started going in January 2019. And at that time, I was in a very difficult place in my life because I'd literally lost a lot of things, physically, psychologically, emotionally, mentally. I was pretty much in the dustbin. I don't know if that's the right term, but that's how I felt at the time. The only thing I had left was my faith in God at that time. So God said, look, this is the place that you need to go to. I recognised then that I needed some extra support and some help because I realised I was struggling a bit and not being able to perform at my job at the time as well. Family things going on. It was a tough time. I lost my home as well. So it was not easy. And I got in touch, and it was Rachel Dunn, actually, who I first came into contact with. And what a pivotal part she's played in my journey anyway. So Rachel, I had to name drop you. I came, back then it might have been an application form or online registration. They invited me in. I think the first course that I did, it might have been an Introduction to Recovery College course, which they're still running, they do still run now. So I'd recommend that to anybody just so you get an idea of what the college is like, and you get to meet obviously some of the people there who run it and people who actually use it, service users. I found that course very, very helpful and useful. And as soon as I walked into the Recovery College, it was like relief. I felt safe there and comfortable. So despite all the difficult trials and tribulations that I'd faced and I was facing at that time, which, believe you me, I was in a very, very lonely place and a very difficult place. The Recovery College, it was like a second home. My first home is the church. My second home has been the Recovery College. That's how I see it.
One of the things that people tell us, and that we sort of understand really, is that we often say the hardest thing about Recovery College is actually walking through the door, getting through that, getting to that point where you're proactively doing something and wondering, is this the right place? What was that experience like, just literally getting to that it's a blue door that you walk through into in the Recovery College? We always recognise it takes quite a lot of courage and taking a chance, taking a risk, really. Is this the right place? There's lots of anxiety. Will I make a fool of myself? All these thoughts. Was that something you can relate to on your own journey?
Yes, because at that time, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. And of course, with my self-esteem and confidence being extremely low, I didn't even recognize it as myself as to how significant that was and how it was affecting me. When I walked through the door, what stood out for me was the welcome that I received and the fact that I wasn't judged based on my circumstances or what I was going through at the time or mental health itself. Because sometimes not everything that something says it's going to do on the tin actually does that, but the Recovery College does. So whatever the Recovery College says that it does, it does. And I've experienced it now and seen it for myself. It was the welcome that I received. It was just like somebody saying, you're safe here. Nobody can harm you here. Whatever pain you're going through here, we can help you to work through that. Yeah, that made a huge difference. And I know there's a lot of people who are very wary about sharing personal information or sharing their experiences. That's what a lot of people fear, is being judged, and being unrecognized as well, because we all have an identity. I lost my identity quite a few years before that, when my mental health took such a strong grip on my mind. It was nice, the acknowledgement that I was receiving. It's like, hello, Daniel. Welcome, Daniel. It's almost like I was starting to remember, I'm a person. I'm valuable. Sometimes without like you or Rachel realizing it, you were slowly starting to help me to get my identity back. Knowing where I am now, that was a game changer. Because if you couldn't help me remember who I am and what I am and what my purpose is and what my goals and dreams are, I forgot all that. I forgot what my dreams were. I forgot what all my goals were, all the things I wanted to do in my life. You forget it when you're at the height of your mental health. It's like when a volcano goes off and erupts, all the lava that comes down the sides, it leaves a stain, a mark. And sometimes it's very hard to knock that off. It's very hard to shake off, dust yourself off, get back up. Recovery College has helped me to do that.
That's really interesting what you're saying about that sort of loss of identity and not knowing who you are and being opened up. I mean, one of the things I sort of struggle with a little bit, having worked in mental health services for a long time as a social worker and a professional, is that we always want people to make goals and plans, but they're in a place where that can be a little bit off yet. You don't know what your goals or plans are. And I like this idea of the Recovery College. What I like to think we do, and I don't know whether you'd agree with this, but it's almost like we begin to open up possibilities for people to explore with no pressure to go down any route, but it's up to you to choose which route you go down. And it's that sort of opening up of possibilities that comes before goal setting and having your own sort of targets. Is that something you can relate to?
Yes, definitely. And I can tell you that you do that through the wide range of courses that you've got on offer. I mean, it's okay to tell people, this is who we are, this is what you do, but it's how you do it. That's what makes the difference. Coming in as a learner and starting to go on some of the courses, I mean, you've got such a wide range of courses that I was spoiled for choice, really. There's some things that I'd never done before in my life, actually. The courses are not only psychologically and emotionally focused, but some of them, it's about creativity. It's about having a warm space and environment to be able to do things that you want to do and things that interest you. And for me, I've done quite a few courses. Some of the courses were more theory-based, teaching you about mental health, how it affects you, and what tools you can use, wellness tools, as they call them. I've got a lot of those now, which I didn't have when I first came through the door, so I thank the Recovery College for that. But some of the courses were more, for me, it was more about having a bit of fun, actually, and relaxing and not being too hard on myself. And the big benefit, huge benefit, is that along my journey I've met a lot of people. So that was staff, volunteers, other learners as well. I made some friends there, some people who I've continued to speak to today, and I've learned a lot from so many people, and I hope that they've been able to learn something from me and my experience as well.
I do think that's really important and something that it's hard to sort of get a place where you can meet other people, but you're all trying to progress. You know what I mean? You're all trying to move forward. There's a feeling of movement and progression, because you can meet other people at drop-ins and other spaces. But for me, I think it's really important you get that sort of contact with people and you can have that fun and freedom with people. But also it's like we're doing this for a purpose. We're doing this because we want to move forward. And I think that's the difference really between some of the other things on offer in community, which are fine and good and there's nothing wrong with them, and the offer from the Recovery College.
Yeah. Just me being open and honest about it is that I've never been anywhere before like the Recovery College. It is a standalone place and a blessed place, and I really hope and pray that what you do, that it never finishes. that it continues to grow and to thrive. Because for people like me who have mental health issues, and like sometimes you feel like you might feel there's nowhere to go. There are services out there, and I've experienced some of them myself, but the Recovery College, they want to get personal with you. It's not just about surface delivery of things. And if you're comfortable and happy to go deeper into things like what I've done and what I'm doing now in this interview or podcast, whatever you call it, then you're more than welcome to do so, and there's no pressure on your head or anything like that. But right now I feel very relaxed. It's me having a conversation with you and everybody else who's watching, just to say that, whatever you're going through, it's not the end, and the Recovery College can help you. You can call this a testimony if you want, but I'm just very happy to share my experience, because I think other people, they need to know that this door is open for them. Sometimes people have had experiences of having the door slam shut in their face.
I think one of the things as well is that because the college creates a culture and an environment people are safe in, and it's progressive like we've talked about, there's an element of being challenged as well. It's not, it's a nice, comfortable place to come in one way. In another way, it's challenging you to move forward, isn't it? You use the phrase get personal, and I think you meant it in a way of like digging a little bit deeper, getting under the surface, seeing what's really wrong, and thinking, right, what can I do in this area of my life? And we're not being nosy, we don't pry, but it's up to you, isn't it? What you put in, if you, in a sense, into the courses you choose is what you're going to get out.
Yes, and the thing is, before you can get to any of that, you've got to be able to build up a rapport with somebody and to be able to trust somebody. As you can tell by this interview, I'm very open, quite open about my life and the things that I've been through, and trust is very, very important with that. You guys at the Recovery College, you certainly earned my trust, helped me to realise that actually I can start trusting people again, because there was a time when literally I didn't trust anybody but God. I must say that. That's the truth. When you've been hurt and gone through a lot of things and you face rejection, that really can put you like 50 paces back from where you were. And it can be very demotivating and very demoralising. As I say, knocks your self-esteem and your confidence till you feel like you're only a shell. I'm thankful that I've been helped to see, partly thanks to the Recovery College, exactly where I need to go next, and that I do actually have somewhere to go next and things to do. My mental health is not the end. My mental health doesn't define Daniel. I'm Daniel. It's not Daniel plus depression, plus anxiety, plus stress, plus social phobias. It's Daniel, and I'm a person just like everybody else.
I think one of the things I want to say really is that the Recovery College isn't the staff or just the staff. It's the people that come like you that are willing to share and think about things and to do that sort of journeying and thinking and supporting. And I think that, to me, it's sort of like that lived experience and empathy and compassion that is really vital to the Recovery College. So I don't think we can exist and do what we do without our volunteers and peer workers in the Recovery College. Most of my reflections on the Recovery College that I'm making in this discussion we're having actually come from talking to people like you, Daniel. They say, oh, this is what we feel about Recovery College, and we sort of take that on board and make sure that we keep it. It's people like you that make the Recovery College, not people like me, in a sense.
Well, thanks very much. And yes, you must include yourself in that. You must. You are somewhat of a figurehead there, and you do steer the course, chart the course of the ship. But I think, yes, it is about community. I have very strong feelings about that, because I do think on the whole in society we've lost community and a lot of the fabric which that was built upon, and we mustn't lose that. The Recovery College, when I first came, I thought, yeah, this is what it's all about. You could feel the love in the room, genuine compassion and care, empathy. It wasn't just lip service or, it's like dressing up a mannequin. You can dress it up and make it look as pretty as it want, but it's still not going to come to life. It is about community and the meeting other people. Because for a long time, I wasn't going out meeting people anyway or anything like that. I was too unwell to do that. I felt like I didn't want to. There's an opportunity to do that, to socialise with other people. I've met some amazing people, and some people who I've met who I still remember today. I may not have seen them for a while, but I remember them very much. Who've been a part of my journey. Learners, staff, volunteers, everybody. And it's just a safe space. It's a safe hub. That's why I said, Matt, I'm very happy to. I'll do it anyway, but word of mouth is very powerful. Sometimes people ask me about what I've been through and what my journey's been. The Recovery College is always part of that discussion. Or sometimes I might just, of my own accord, just mention it anyway. It's wonderful now. We've got such an active, functioning website, and there's so many resources and things there. Obviously, given to the COVID situation, a lot of people have been frightened to come out and frightened to come, but I will say come. This is an invitation. I know we've got to be aware of guidelines and things like that, but it really is worth the journey. You feel better when you leave than when you came in. If you say you're going to help somebody, and once you've begun to administer that help, or you're in the process of doing it, if there's no results at the end of it, then for me, you might as well not have started. And I can positively say that certainly the result for me is me. It's the Daniel who I am now. Complete change. And you've seen it, other people have seen it. I feel it and know it. I now know who I am and what I'm doing. Not everything. I feel like I've got hope now. I've got purpose. So I'll forever be grateful for the Recovery College, really.
One of the things I was going to ask you actually was there any particular course, or was there a couple of courses that sort of stood out for you that made a difference? And if they did, what was it about them, the thing that really clicked with you?
There were two courses in particular that I must mention off the bat. One of them, unfortunately, it lost its funding, and I was on the very last session of that which was the expert patient program.
Oh yes,
really, really good course. It was about 6 or 7 weeks. It was very well structured, and the thing is, you had like a bit of homework to do each week, which it wasn't pressurized or anything. It was just, I thought that was so helpful, because it's one thing to hear something in a room and you can forget it very easily, but when you've been given a bit of homework, it gives you a chance to go away and reflect on what you've just seen, what you've just heard. It's amazing what revelations come out after the event. Sometimes you have to go away and think about things and think about how you're going to apply it later. So the expert patient program, that's something I would have highly recommended if it was still running. I hope they bring it back. The other one was Eat Well, Be Well. I did that because, I'm not ashamed to admit, but my eating habits are shocking sometimes. I'm eating at times that I shouldn't eat, and perhaps eating too much of something that I shouldn't be eating. It's just hard to get that balance right. But the Eat Well, Be Well, certainly. Very, very just full of information and resources. It's all about well-being in itself, self-help and things like that, and it helps to promote that. In terms of the fun side of things, if you want to be a bit more creative or just doing something that you enjoy, that you love, certainly recommend the Mosaics course. I've got a lovely mosaic, if I may say so, which is still there. It's a mosaic of a giraffe on the African plains. And it's half finished.
Well, I thought
it's still there. I know, yeah, you did, didn't you? And I thought, wow, he doesn't know the difference between a giraffe and a dog. Well, we need to go back to basics then, don't we?
I was just winding you up, of course.
Of course you were.
I thought you might mention that somehow.
If you're interested in becoming a volunteer like I did later on, I never thought, when I was a learner, I didn't think I'd be able to be in a position to help other people, but the Recovery College, they gave me that opportunity, and they recognised that I had something to offer. I didn't see it at the time, but clearly you guys did, and it gave me that opportunity to become a volunteer. And one of the courses that helped me to do that was the Skills for Volunteers course, run by Jane Walton at the time. Wonderful lady, an amazing tutor. That helped to build up almost like a template of skills and tools that I've had and that you guys had helped me to develop to be able to be a successful volunteer and to actually give back and help other people. I always say it's, if somebody's helped you in something, I'm sure there's always something that you can give back. I'm in a stronger position now to be able to provide guidance and advice and support to whoever needs it when it comes to mental health.
Yeah, I think it's so important that people have the opportunity to help others, no matter their situation. And I think it's almost like a human need we all have within us. When you've been through an experience you've been through, it's easy to lose that and forget that, and to have the opportunity to help others is really important and really meaningful and purposeful. And we recognise that everybody who comes through the Recovery College, every single person that comes through that door has something to offer. We got some amazing people with amazing talents, amazing personalities.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. Sometimes you might feel, because this is what happens with low self-esteem and low confidence. You think that you're not good to anybody, you're not useful for anything, you'll never come to anything, you're a failure, this is the end, there's nothing for you. Well, that's a lot of nonsense, actually. There's something there for everybody. I guess it's just about having people around you who are supportive and see the positive sides of your life and can help to draw that out and help you to see that, because when you're going through depression and anxiety and stress and things like that, but often, and certainly for me personally speaking, you're in darkness. Darkness can't last forever. Light must be shone into the darkness, and light always overcomes darkness anyway. It's that very dark place where sometimes you go, it pretty much took a crisis for some light bulb to go off and think, something, I need to get some help and some support here. I can't be this miserable. And thankfully, people came into my life.
One thing you said I think is really important, that Recovery College isn't a cure for things. it's almost like giving you some tools, like you say, wellbeing tools. You have to keep using those tools, though, don't you? It's not an end point, it's a beginning point, really. Well, it can be a beginning point for many people. I think it's what you're doing, it's how you use those tools in your own life. I've got a belief that people are far more resourceful and resilient than they think they are, but often the messages we give to people tell them otherwise. I think all we do in the Recovery College is just shine a light on what's already there. When you're in that place, you can't see it.
I can put it into these terms, basically. It's like having a set of instruments that have been used in the past, but those instruments, they've been put down for a while. They lose their sharp edge, and it's like having blunt instruments. They need sharpening ever so often, basically like skills and things like that and talents. Eventually, they start to succumb to a bit of rust, and perhaps they need a bit of polishing off. They've just been sat there, and the owner of those instruments has forgotten that they have those instruments, but also that they can be very useful in everyday situations about the skills and talents that I've got, and people reminded me of, and that was key, that I was able to take those instruments up again. And now I'm literally off to the races, and that can happen for anybody, any of you guys out there.
There is hope, however small it might seem. You are resourceful, and I'm being reminded of it. And Recovery College, it's a safe place. It's a place of challenge and learning and progression, but it's also a place of empathy and compassion. You do that journey with other people. We learn. I mean, I love this phrase, we learn together. I class myself as a learner. That journey, if you like, that you start or have started or may even yet to start, I think will always continue. I think that's the important thing.
The moment that you think you know it all, you're in trouble. And there's times in my life when I've thought, oh, I know it all, I've got it all sorted out. Then amazing, life happens. And sometimes life happens and it knocks you off path. Sometimes it takes you a while to get back on that path.
That's a really important point. I always say to people, it doesn't matter how fast you go, it just matters that you try to keep going in the right direction. There are setbacks and what have you, but you sort of pick yourself up and keep just step by step, bit by bit, you get there. I think sometimes people they look back at the past of where they've been and they just want to click their fingers and get there, and they can't. And a lot of people also say that their experience of mental health and suffering and that distress almost makes them a better person. It's part of them. It's not something to get rid of, but it's something to embrace, because you become a more sort of compassionate human being. It's about defining it for yourself, really, that journey, what it looks like, how long it takes you. That is up to you, isn't it?
I would just say that if I didn't go through the things that I went through, as painful and difficult as they were at the time, I'm thankful for those experiences, and actually I wouldn't change them, because they've helped to shape me into the Daniel that I am today. So the Daniel of 2022 is different in many respects to the Daniel of 2019. For all you old timers out there like me, I'm sure many of you will be familiar with the old Aesop fable, The Hare and the Tortoise. And just like Matt was talking about your journey, we're all on a journey. It doesn't matter, you don't have to get there in a record time. Just try to get there from A to B. And with a lot of help and support and guidance, you can run that race just like anybody else. I'm doing it and still doing it now. I'm not at the finish line yet. Finish line will come when I pop my clogs, basically. I'm on a journey, and it's very worthwhile. The quality of that journey and the things that I've seen and learned, you can't put a price on that. Some things you've just got to go through.
Well, listen, Daniel, it's been great talking to you. I'm going to let you have the
You
last
too,
word. That's really useful. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. And to anybody who's listening, I'll just say there is hope. Don't give up. You'll get there in the end. Just keep doing what you're doing, thinking the best about yourself, making the most of the help and support that is out there. One place that you could start if you decide to and you feel comfortable to is this place, the Recovery College. I'd recommend this with all my heart and soul, because it will change your life like it has mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.